Hello and welcome to another episode of What to Pick. This is the video series where I go over a few different starting hands and explain what I would pick and why. And today's episode is the first one I'm doing with colonies in the Steam app. So let's see what we get. Sadly, the colonies corp we got today is horrible. It's StromCraft, it's the worst one that got introduced. And it's up against Mining Guild, which can sometimes be incredibly nice, especially if you're playing with colonies, because it's a very engine-focused expansion. Colonies games tend to last not, but they don't tend to last longer because colonies just supercharge everything, so you get stuff done faster. But still, you're going for an engine playstyle, and Mining Guild can do that very well. So let's see what we get. No preludes here are particularly nice for Mining Guild, but Supplier is always great if you're playing with colonies. Basically, Supplier and Power Generation are significantly better with this expansion because you want power as fast as possible to be able to trade. Business Empire is always, not always, but mostly a good prelude. Sometimes you're playing with poor corps such as Mining Guild, and then the -6 MC to your starting capital really hurt. But the production you get is amazing. And then Eco Experts is really dependent on what you get in your starting hand. If you get something like kelp farming, then this is amazing and the best prelude in the game. If you don't get something like kelp farming, then that's just useless. Loan, I would basically never pick, but let's see what we get. Okay, nothing for ecology experts. So we're basically forced into these two. And sadly, also absolutely nothing for Mining Guild except towing a comet. But this is a really expensive tile placement card, not really suited to Mining Guild, because you just don't start with enough cash. In terms of colonies, first thing to note, there's no Pluto in game, meaning that you don't have unlimited card draw. That means that the game probably won't end in a Clown Fiesta, but you have Luna, Triton, and Ceres, which means there's still a lot of engine potential. And if someone finds an early playable animal card, then Miranda can be your card drawing colony. We don't have one, something like Pets, Ecozone, Martian Zoo. Don't have something like that, so we're out of luck here. I guess we're forced to go with StromCraft. Basically, now it's just a discount Helion. You have all right starting capital. You have Jovian tech, which is not really useful here on Tharsis. We're playing on Tharsis, so there's no Rim Settler. And you have some heat prod. You're not flexible in a way such as Helion that you can use the heat as MC, but you're flexible in a way that if you find a really good floater card later on, you can at least use your floaters for that instead of just getting basically 2 heat prod. But this is still just not great. But yeah, Mining Guilds is just really poor, so I would probably pick StromCraft here. There's also no like steel tax that you can pay for with steel with the 5 steel you start off with Mining Guild. So yeah, we're really forced to go StromCraft here. And then sadly, the starting hand also doesn't look too amazing. We have, yeah, generically good card in Towing a Comet. We have Minority Refuge, which is a cheap colony. You can get down, for example, on Luna or Ceres. We have Psychophiles, generically good card that you get down first gen for some production. And then Mineral Deposit, this is something we pick up for later. We don't have any more power prod other than Supplier because we can't get this tech stress down. We are lacking the science text for that. And yeah, Wave Power has that global requirement. Don't be baited into eco experts into Wave Power. That's not a good game plan. What I would just do here is, because we don't have that much to do anyways, I would just SP a power and get to 3 power prod that way. You could honestly think about Aerobrake Demonia Asteroid here. We have Psychophiles, not much to do, So we have a target for these microbes, and we can get some heat and plant prot. But I probably still wouldn't do that. It could be something for Gen 2. Gen 1, I really want to play Sacrifice, get that down for some prot, get that SP power down, maybe get Minority Refuge down. We are probably not. We are first player in Gen 2 when we will be able to trade. So we could just start off next gen by playing Minority Refuge into trading. The -2 on the card cancels out all the production benefits you get from placing it on Luna, so you're not required to place Gen 1. You can see if you find a better colony placing card in Gen 2. I guess we can pick up Aerobrake Ammonia Asteroid and play that Gen 2. We are quite rich as StromCraft. Yeah, I'd probably go with these 5. And then, as I said, play Supplier, obviously. That's one of your preludes. Get an SP power down. Play Psychophiles. And then open Gen 2 with Minority Refuge, probably on Luna, and trade there. And then follow that up with Aerobrake Ammonia Asteroid with the microbes on Psychophiles. You could easily skip this and just hope for something better in Gen 2. But we will have quite a bit of MC prot with Business Empire and trading to Luna, and the heat prot you get with this combos a bit with the heat prot you get with your corp. So yeah, not the strongest starting hand, but Supplier is really great, and the colonies are useful. So yeah, I think you could very well play like this. But let's get to the second starting hand. Okay, next up, we are playing with Venus next this game. We have to keep this in mind. The last one was without it. We have Arklight versus UNMI, two completely different corps. Arklight, I again wouldn't say is one of the better corps of colonies. It just doesn't have such a strong ability. It's a bit better definitely than StromCraft. I like the MC prot on it. The effect will score a few points. It's just not something that is very useful in the early game. It's more of an engine corp than UNMI for sure, so that makes it a bit better in colonies by default, in my opinion. But let's see what we get for our starting hand. By the way, this time we're playing on Hellas. Here, StromCraft would have been significantly better because of Rim Settler. But yeah, no StromCraft this time. We're playing with Arklight. Arklight or UNMI. Research Network is quite nice for Rim Settler, one of the 3 Jovian tags you need. But in general, I probably would pick these 2, but let's see what we get and if that combos in any way. Yeah, the plant tag on Experimental Forest is already really nice for insects. So would be the wild tag, but I think Allied Bank is so good I wouldn't really skip that. But let's take a look at the starting hand again. So Protect the Tabs is an insta-keep, always nice, especially if you're going for a lot of green tags with Arklight. Plantation is nice for Arklight and for insects. You're going to keep that. Indentured Workers, always an insta-keep on a starting hand. Insects, really, really strong. Probably always an insta-keep on a starting hand. Big Asteroid, also really strong. We're going to keep that. And now we have to think about the rest. There's no Venus tags on the starting hand, so we don't have to think about sulfur exports. I think Water to Venus without really any combo potential is just a bland card that you don't really need if you're not planning on going for Venus. CEO's favorite project is a bit too, swing or hit or miss. Basically, either you're going to find something to put the the resource on or not. And that's not something I want to gamble on in my starting hand. The opportunity cost of paying 3 MC on this and that potentially delaying some of the cards you want to play is just too high. Phobos Space Haven without a ton of titanium is just not that great. The only thing I'm still thinking about is flooding. We don't really have a payoff for it, like a kelp farming or an algae, so I don't think it's necessary. It would be interesting to pick up a card with it, because we don't really have that much to do. Not really anything to do. So yeah, maybe you pick up flooding, you get your experimental forest down here on the card, flooding on this card. That way you draw 4 cards, 2 from the placement bonuses and 2 from experimental forest. The likelihood of drawing into something like algae or kelp is definitely there. Yeah, and then something to consider is whether you want to pick up Research Network or not instead of Allied Bank for insects. But I think the fact that we don't really have a way to go for Rim Settler really discounts Research Network. Also doesn't particularly look like we're going for Diversifier. If we were to go for Diversifier, I'd definitely pick up Research Network and then also probably Phobos Space Haven. 2 tags that we don't have on any other card here. Maybe Diversifier is actually a good plan because we have an animal tag that makes it much easier to go for it. So yeah, I think I like the other line better. Not focus too much on that milestone and just to draw with experimental forest and flooding on these 2 tiles. Draw 4 and see what we get. But you could definitely argue to go this route. Actually, let's go this route, see what we draw, and then formulate a plan based on that. Allied Bank is a really tough prelude to give up, but this gives you a good shot on Diversifier and hoping to find something to combo with the rest of this hand. So let's see what we get. Okay, we play up against Poseidon. That's one of the better corps of this expansion, definitely. And let's see what we get here. So experimental forest goes on here. Then we play Research Network. Then we will see what Poseidon does. Free colony on Pluto. Oh yeah, I didn't look at the colonies, but we didn't have any power prod. So it wasn't the most important thing to look at. The cool thing here is definitely, as Arklight, Miranda is in game. This is definitely something I should have considered when choosing the core, but UNMI really wasn't a consideration. This wasn't a UNMI hand, and UNMI is particularly poor with colonies. But Miranda increases the strength of Arklight significantly. You immediately put the colony in play with Arklight, and you can put colonies there and trade with it before anyone else can, because you can immediately start collecting animals. And that is basically a discount Pluto. In each gen that your opponent is first player and can fly to Pluto, you won't lack card draw. You can still fly to Miranda and collect a card there and get points. So that's really, really nice. But let's see what we drew. Sadly, the 2 experimental forest draws were horrendous, with Venus Soils, one of the worst cards in the game, and Freya Biodomes, which is a good card, but it isn't likely that we're going for Venus here, with no support basically, and then it's just a dead card. So I would definitely put flooding down over here on the card, hope for something more, and we don't get it. So this is a rough start, I have to say. I'd probably get indentured workers into Phobos Space Haven down. You just have enough for that. 25. And with that, we'd be up to 5 tags for Diversifier. House printing would get us up to 6. And what kind of tags are still missing? A microbe tag, but insects would come too late. theoretically the Venus tag on Venus soils, but you really don't want to play that. Yeah, after that, it gets kind of difficult. There's still a power tag out there. There's a Jovian tag out there that you could play. Science tags, obviously. So you would have to hope for the draft. But yeah, kind of a rough start. Some good cards on hand. But yeah, kind of middle of the road. But yeah, I think this was definitely a line, and then picking up Acquired Company instead of Research Network and no Phobos Space Haven definitely would have been a line as well. But yeah, those were my 2 cents on this starting hand. Let's get to the last one. And for the last hand of today's video, we have, okay, probably an even worse corp than the 2 before, Polyphemos. So basically, out of the 5 corps that were introduced with colonies, there's 3 bad ones, Polyphemos, Arklight, and StromCraft, the 3 we just had. And there's 2 good ones, which are Eridor and Poseidon. Polyphemos basically has a negative ability, which means that all of the cards you buy cost Swimsy more, and then a pretty good economic start with high starting capital and 5 MC prod. But if you do the math, this start basically gets completely crushed by your ability, and over the course of the game you will be poorer than any other corp. There are certain situations in which you can definitely play Polyphemos, and one of the main indicators is if Pluto is in game, because Pluto will give you cheap card draw, meaning that you don't have to buy that many cards in the draft, circumventing your negative ability, basically. But at the same time, it's up against Vitor, which is one of the strongest corps in the game. So it will have a rough time, and there won't be many scenarios in which there probably won't be any scenarios in which you pick Polyphemos over Vitor here. But let's see. Also, this is without Venus Next, and this is with all of the promo cards instead, and we're playing on Elysium this time. So, Echo for Turbines, same as what was the name of the first prelude we had today in one of the starting hands that gave Supplier, I think. 2 power prod, insanely good in colonies. You probably always want to pick this. Nitrogen Shipment and Galilean Mining are underwhelming preludes. Early Settlement definitely also isn't that great, but you could think about picking up 3 plants, or if your starting hand is particularly bad, then placing it on Olympus Mons to draw more cards. This time, I will take a look at the colonies board, and there is Pluto, so that's a saving grace potentially for Polyphemos, but again, it's up against Vitor, so probably not. Okay, this is actually a hand which is not that bad for Polyphemos. You could definitely go Polyphemos. Let's discuss it for now. One of the reasons which I immediately noticed that is with Earth Elevator and Space Elevator and Demos Down and maybe even Ecology Research, you have 4 insanely expensive cards. And expensive cards are great for Polyphemos because the increase in cost percentage-wise is lower on expensive cards. And especially being able to get Earth Elevator down Gen 1 is something that not all corps can achieve. Polyphemos can do that because it has 50 MC and starting capital plus 5 titanium. That's 65 minus 20 in this case, 45. So just enough to play Earth Elevator. You would have to really consider what else you want to keep. Yeah, because of Echo for Turbines, actually it's difficult. You'd need to probably skip this, place the city on Asia Mons. That way we would have 45, 48, and 45 again. You could do Echo for Turbines on the titanium to be at 48 again. And with 48, yeah, 48. And yet now we could pick up one more card, which probably would be Protected Habs. The reason I want to pick up Mining Area is to, yeah, put early settlement here, and then mining area on the steel prod. That way we have steel prod for space elevator. So let's look at this again. If you were really intent on playing Polyphemos, I think this would be the route. We start off with 50 plus 15, 65, minus 25. This is 40. And then you get down aquifer turbines on titanium, which is cash neutral for a titanium target. So you're still at 40. And then with early settlement, you pick up 1 titanium, such that you're able to play Earth Elevator with all of your remaining cash, basically. You have to skip the ecology research. It's not that amazing. Not that amazing in the early game anyways. It would be a great card for Polyphemos in the mid to late game to find in the draft, something that you would be willing to pay 5 MC for instead of 3, because it can be a really nice point bomb plan producer, and the techs are certainly useful. Yeah, and then basically you'd play Earth Elevator Gen 1, and Gen 2 you'd probably get down mining area, space elevator, sell steel. And you also need to get power prod down to be able to trade, but you can't do that Gen 1 because you want to get Earth elevator down. This would be the Polyphemos route, but honestly, we can achieve the same thing with Vitor. We won't be able to play Earth elevator Gen 1, but we will be able to just increase our power with an SP and trade. And with Vitor, we can pick up cards more freely. I'd still go for the Earth Elevator, probably. Bit discounted with Vitor. It's an engine card. Probably something you would want to go for. You could think about early settlement on this tile and mining area on... probably you still want to go Asiamons and then mining area on the steel, so you can sell with Space Elevator. Probably this would be the cards I want to keep with Vitor. Same here. We'd be at 48, minus 18 is 30, and then 27. You get down Space Elevator. Sorry. 48 minus 18 is 30. Minus the 3 from aquifer turbines is 27. You pick up a titanium here, you're at 30 again. And you probably play aquifer turbines again on titanium. So you're able to play space elevators and mining area and sell. That means, once again, no standard project power plant Gen 1, but the economic setup is quite nice that way, and you can just SP a power in Gen 2 and start trading in Gen 3. The payoff on the colonies won't be too high in Gen 2 without a colony anyways. And other than Pluto, there's not that great targets in the game anyways. Enceladus and Titan won't be in play immediately. You need cards to collect these resources with first. Io is something you only want to fly to once the track is really high. Europa is the weird colony where you get prod. You could actually fly there in Gen 2 for 9 MC to get a power prod instead of SPing one. So probably that's our game plan. We won't be first player in Gen 2, so we won't have priority on this, but probably the opponent would fly to Pluto anyways if they fly. So yeah, this is probably the route that is much better than the Polyphemos route. Vitor and get mining area and space elevator going immediately. Adapted Lichen here is a pickup for Vitor because of Ecologist. And yeah, we're forced on the preludes to go for these two, I think. But yeah, this is a solid start for sure, with some great cards. And Pluto's in game, and we will be able to trade quite fast with it. So yeah, Vitor is always great, basically. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this first colonies what to pick on Steam. Let me know in the comments what you would have picked in these starting hands. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, guys, and goodbye.